We are currently in the 75th season of NASCAR racing, a season that many thought would be monumental and show just how far NASCAR has come and continue the growth of the sport that was seen last season. But, as you can see by the title of this video, well, not so much. Instead, this season's big storyline in a lot of ways off the track has been the fact that, well, not as many people are watching on-the-track content. And it's been something that puzzles a lot of people because, like I said, last season, NASCAR's ratings went up to a 5-year high at that. But instead, now we're looking at ratings tumbling week after week after week. And while people give individual reasons why NASCAR's ratings are falling in 2023, I don't think they give the whole story. And that's what I want to do today. I want to try and give as many reasons as possible for why NASCAR's ratings have been going down. Now, like I said, the ratings between 2018 and 2022 were all between about 2.9 million viewers and 3.3. It was a very even split for the most part, and while a couple of those years went down because of certain races, generally racing content when it came to NASCAR was up in viewership. But so far this year, it's down 9.5%, and last year's ratings had an average of about 3 million viewers a race, just barely over. This year is on track to have 2.72 million if the minus 9.5% continues. And when you look at why the ratings would go down so far, or how they have at least, it's pretty jarring. The Clash, down 15%. Daytona, 8%. Auto Club, 5%. 12% for Vegas. 15% for Phoenix and Atlanta. Then you got 16% for COTA. 42% for Richmond, though that was on FS1 and last year was on Fox, so I don't really want to count that. And then Bristol Dirt recently down 14%. And you might ask why this is. And I think part of the reason is that 2022 was an up year. 2022 had a big viewership increase for most of the season before tapering off at the end. So seeing these big decreases isn't too much of a surprise because NASCAR had hit a level it hadn't been at in a long time. You had the next-gen car bringing in intrigue. That right off the bat would make things different, and a lot of fans who maybe were casual or had turned off after a while would give NASCAR a second chance. You had the curiosity factor of that. You had the curiosity of good storylines, Ross Chastain basically coming out and wrecking the party. So I think in a lot of ways this had a lot to do with it. Now I know a lot of people will say that the ratings are going down because of gimmicks. I don't really know about that because NASCAR has changed a bit with the schedule, but really it's remained almost virtually unchanged since 2017, aside from 2017 when a lot of drivers were retiring around that time. That's about it. So most of the case study we can look at from 2018 to 2023 is pretty similar. Well, there is one big thing that a lot of people will point at, I think, and say this is the entire reason why they're down. And it's that Chase Elliott has been out. Chase Elliott is NASCAR's most popular driver. It's not hard to see it. You can see it anytime you go to a race, anytime you hear the fans cheering on TV when he takes the lead. It's apparent. Chase has a pull. And with Chase Elliott being out from Las Vegas through to currently now, though he may come back soon, we've seen a bigger fall in those races than we had in the first two. Like I said, Daytona Auto Club, they were at 8% and 5% decreases respectively. Ever since then, it's been 12% or worse every race. And when you look at the fact that, yeah, he has a reach, I think that many people may say, oh, they're not NASCAR fans. But I can say that from my driver being injured multiple times as a Dale Jr. fan, as well as him retiring, when your favorite driver isn't in the race, even if you love racing and you're a big NASCAR fan, it is difficult to watch it because it's just not the same. And even as somebody who doesn't root for Chase Elliott week in and week out, these races feel different without Elliott being in the field. Now, another reason a lot of people gave is that, well, there's just less people watching TV now, which I think would be justified in saying, yeah, some of those people that stopped watching basic cable or just TV in general, they're not watching the race. They're not able to, or at least not being reported to be able to. And that is a reason. Cable overall also is down 10% in subscriptions from 5 years ago. So you can see over time that maybe that's an excuse to use. If 10% less people are the audience you could be going out to and you're going down, give or take 10 to 15%, that could be a large chunk of it as well. And you might be able to even use the excuse that, hey, over that time, a lot of it happened between 22 and 23. Maybe that's why the Daytona 500 or Auto Club was down. And I get that. I get why people would say that. As of 2022, the average TV viewer is 75 years or older for the most part, and they watch TV about 5 hours a day. While people like me who are 20 to 25, we average watching TV a little less than 2 hours per day, at least on basic television. It's because we have YouTube, TikTok, and everything else to do. But I won't say that's the entire reason or even necessarily too big of a chunk, because TV viewers nowadays are skewing older, and we'll talk about it in a bit with the demographics. NASCAR's fan base is a much older fan base, so I think it actually affects them less than it does other sports like the NFL or NBA or even Formula One. But I will say this too, streaming numbers are included in the rating, so you can't use that as an excuse that they're just streaming it on YouTube TV or on Peacock or anything like that. Almost every type of streaming service that's used that's reputable reports their numbers to Nielsen and is added into the total audience. So streaming is not what is killing NASCAR's viewership right now. But it might be having something to do with demographics. So in 2017, the average viewer base for NASCAR was 58 years old. In the 11 years since 2006, that meant that it increased 9 years in age from 49. Now, I will say 49 is generally seen as pretty good in the sports market now. For instance, the NFL is around 48 to 50 years old for average viewer, and they're seen as a sport that caters to a more young and diverse crowd. NASCAR's key demo percentage at the moment is currently between 18 and 23% on TV. And when you look and compare to F1 and NBA, they're around 40 to 45%. They're generally the ones who are winning with Gen Z and younger millennials. So when you look at how those demographics break up, it's not very good for NASCAR. In the nicest way possible, I'll say this. An older demographic base watching your sport over time and getting older in average over time means that literally your sport's viewership base could die out quicker than the other. It's just the reality of it. Other than golf, no other real professional sporting league has an older viewer base than NASCAR. And while golf is doing pretty well, that doesn't mean they want it to stay that way forever. What is looking apparent right now to me is that, especially with the younger viewer base, NASCAR just isn't culturally relevant anymore. It's not. It is not reliable to want the casual fan to tune in. People outside of NASCAR will see Ross Chastain's Hail Melon, see it on TikTok for 10 to 12 seconds, say, oh, that was cool, and go to the next one. Those views don't translate into views on TV. So I think there's really nothing new that's being brought in for fans that are younger to watch. People like me are diehards. Diehards are going to keep watching, and I think that's NASCAR's core viewer base, and that core viewer base, in my opinion, is what's been growing for NASCAR. You see it in attendance. You see it generally in lower series having higher numbers than they used to have, in general at least, and that's really where NASCAR's at, a diehard niche sport. And I think part of that has to do with the broadcast. The current NASCAR broadcast, both on Fox and NBC, is outdated. And I think this is the F1 effect. Formula One has been surging, especially in the key demo in America, for a couple years now. And I think a big part of it is that they've modernized everything having to do with racing and racing coverage. Whereas with NASCAR, fans are debating how many commercials are too many. F1 has commercial free. Now, I know that NASCAR has a different business model. I get that. But the problem is, most fans shouldn't and don't care about that. They care about the product they're being given, especially if they're paying for cable. The amount I pay for YouTube TV is strictly going to me watching NASCAR. I can watch the NFL and NFL games wherever I want. I'm watching NASCAR on this, and that's the only reason I'm paying for it. And when around 30% of the broadcast is under commercial, it looks terrible and basically like a dinosaur next to a modern human when it comes to broadcasts. Yeah, there's cool stuff about NASCAR, but when you have to go through the Toyota Tundra sponsor read of the day, Why would somebody sit and watch? It feels forced down your throat, and that just does not fit with modern audiences as much anymore unless it's quick and to the point. NASCAR also doesn't have a streaming partner. I didn't say streaming in the sense of going exclusive, but just streaming in general. Diehard fans don't have a viable option to watch. I'd pay $15 a month for commercial-free NASCAR as an option if it meant that I could get rid of my $70 a month YouTube TV subscription, because that's just all I watch on there, and that's all I want to watch when I watch TV. I watch most of my content on YouTube or on Instagram, sometimes Twitter if I ever want to go to that hellhole. And that's how a lot of people that are in their 20s watch things now. NASCAR needs to adapt with the new TV deal, or these 2023 ratings will just be an omen of things to come. Overall, I think these are some of the reasons that NASCAR has went down in ratings after 5 stable seasons from 2018 to 2022. And I think that if they're fixed, NASCAR will be better for it. But now, I want to pass this on to you and ask you, why do you think NASCAR's ratings are down this year? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to this channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you to all my channel members for your continued support, and be sure to watch the NASCAR Weekly Podcast on Eric Estep's channel tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So, until then, have a good one.